Cool. Yeah, I was looking at your website. It looks very nice. How long you been doing it now? The business?
Since 2013.
Cool. And how many employees do you have now?
Right now, I got 1 office staff and 2 field laborers.
2 field, 1 office. Cool. And what do you think, like this year, what's kind of your goal for revenue this year? Do you know?
I'm shooting for 500,000.
Awesome, man. Cool. And is that mostly landscaping or mowing, or what do you kind of focus on mostly? I know I kind of saw you kind of do a lot of those things, including hauling and things, but what kind of the breakdown you think?
I think for the mowing, so we average about 60 mowing clients. And I guess I would say most of our revenue comes from projects. So when I say projects, I mean like mulching, plant design, what we do, retaining walls, some flagstone, gravel, that type of stuff. So like those projects ranging from like the maybe $3,000 to $10,000 mark. And that's kind of like where I wanted to take the focus to. Because when I first started, I was just cutting grass because I didn't know how to do anything else. So I was just like, fuck it. I know I can get a mower and a weed whacker and go knock on people's doors and say I can cut grass. But I started telling people that I can do everything else as well, and kind of learned it on the job and through YouTube and stuff like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what's kind of what can I kind of help you with, do you think?
I guess structure, I think, because one thing I'm struggling with is like every year I have to find a new mowing supervisor, because we basically split our crews in 2. So I usually run the project crew, and then I have somebody run the mowing crew. So the mowing, they strictly just cut grass, and maybe they'll like weed, plant beds if that's a service that the customer gets through our packages that we offer. And they'll do like the hedge trimming and stuff like that. So the maintenance type of things. And I was trying to focus more so on the projects, because that's where the bigger money is, and it requires a lot more, mind work and supervision. So what I wanted to do is kind of get it to a point to where as though I'm not working as much in the field in the physical sense, and more so just playing operator, if that makes sense. Because right now I'm doing both. And it's like, I've been doing this for years, so I know something got to change in order for it to grow. And what I think has to change is kind of structures and finding out how to kind of retain good employees. And I think one of the things that I got to do is stop like leaning towards comfortability. One thing I do when hiring, it's easier just to go with somebody you already know, because you know you trust them with your truck and all that shit. And, you know what I'm saying? And make sure they not stealing money from you.
So right now, is it kind of, is finding the right, more hires kind of the issue right now for growth, or is it more of like the marketing side, like bringing in more leads?
I think the leads are pretty much good. We advertise through Angie's List and the website. So Angie's List brings in a good amount of leads. We were doing Home Advisor, but it seems like the Home Advisor leads, they'll shoot out to multiple contractors and becomes a bidding war. And sometimes it doesn't even make sense to market through them. So the leads coming in pretty consistently. I would say we do about 10 to 20 estimates a week. And like I said, I usually take like a Monday or a Sunday to do those estimates and try to fit them in after work days when I am out in the field working, and do it like that. But so I think the leads are coming in good. We just got to get to a point where it's just more structure in the business, I think.
Got it. And so right now, like you're saying though, you're mowing manager, you kind of have big turnover there every year?
Yeah, every year I got to find somebody else to do it. Like one year I had my brother doing it, but he about to graduate from college, and he was like, man, I'm not doing no physical labor. I went to college for a reason. So he not messing with it. I had my father working for me a couple of years, but he's getting older. He can't really keep up with the pace. And then other guys I had working for me, they still involved in the streets. They can't leave the streets alone. So they still think it's something there for them there. So it's nothing do with that. But I shot out some ads through Indeed, and I've been getting people applying. I got to reach out to a couple more people, but some people I reached out to, they just didn't follow back up, or something happened there. So, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and things around the labor field and all that in our industry, and everybody's saying it's really difficult to find people right now, I guess, because there's so much free money floating around and shit.
Yep.
So
yeah, like, like in terms of structure, the thing too is like trying to find someone that almost wants to treat it like their own, but they don't want to own the business, right? Like finding someone that, even if you did profit sharing or something with them, that would try to keep them on board. Because like if you can solidify that side of the business by having the mowing manager that's solid and like trains people up and is there for a few years, like, it just gives you the freedom to actually put people underneath them, trained up, and really grow, instead of always having that turnover.
right.
So, profit sharing is a great way to do that. And, or even just like open book management and sharing the numbers with that person, and like getting them kind of bought into what you're trying to do. Because otherwise, yeah, like, every winter when you let them go for a little bit, or it slows down a bit, they just, they bounce.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with now. Other than that, so I was saying I wanted to kind of replace me as well within the mix of actually working in the field, and like I'm there from start to finish on every job type of thing, to where I get to a place where I become the estimator. So I'm basically the estimator. I'm getting the materials for the jobs, making sure they're there, and making sure the guys are doing it to the scope. So I want to get to that place, but I'm trying to figure out in this stage of where I am in business, if it makes sense to do that, or do I need to just play that position for a while and play basically the crew lead to the project crew, if that makes sense.
I think if you were kind of like, okay, I'm going to do 500,000 this year, and that's kind of it. But if you were growing every month, I think where you're at now in your trajectory, you kind of need to make that decision. Either you go start becoming the estimator, or you stay project manager, because you can stay pretty profitable where you're at now. If you just kind of keep a few employees out in the field, 2 employees, person in the office, like you'll be pretty efficient and make good money. But as you want, like, staying out in the field is not what your desire is. So like, in my opinion, it's a matter of going and getting 2 more employees out for the field, because you got to replace yourself, number one, but you probably do the work of 2 people, right? In terms of just labor. And so going out and finding 2 people, and then going out, and by having 2 more people, people see you more, you're able to focus on those 20 estimates more, sell more jobs. And that's when the growth really starts to happen. Like the next catalyst to your growth, like going from 500 to 1 million, is going to be you getting out of the field and focusing on estimates. Because if you're just doing it, say, on Sundays and Mondays, that means that someone who asked for an estimate on, say, Tuesday or Wednesday is waiting 5 or 6 days to get you there, and then another few days to get the estimate. And by then, like, their grass is overgrown, right?
Yeah.
And so your close ratio will go dramatically higher if you can be there the next day, get the estimate out to them within a few hours, and then they're on the schedule the next day.
Yeah, I realize we close a lot more jobs faster when I can get out there that same day, or at least the next day when they ask for the estimate. And I pretty much do the estimates really quick. When I'm on the site, I measure everything, look at it. I can kind of gauge what's going to be a problem, what's not. And then I can come up with the estimate in like 20 minutes. And people, you can tell they're excited by the fact that we showed up within a day, and then they got the estimate that quick. Because I heard over and over again, at least 2 or 3 times last week, people was like, yeah, I had 3 other people come out and I still ain't get the estimate. That was like last week. I was like, what the fuck?
And that's the thing, like, especially in around DC, like the property values are so high, there's absolutely a market that's willing to pay a premium price for someone who shows up, right? And so if you made the commitment to, hey, I'm going to go full time out in the field, or out of the field doing estimate work, and obviously there's occasionally you got to jump in and help, but like, let's say you went and found 2 employees, it costing you some money, you're getting out of the field doing estimates, you can absolutely afford to then raise your prices by a few dollars per hour, because to compensate for the extra expense of those 2 employees, because you are now able to get to the customer faster, and that value to them is worth $5 more per hour.
Right.
And so I really think that you would close. Do you know what your closing ratio is now?
No, I actually don't even know how to gauge the closing ratio. So we use Jobber. I know it's probably you can look at it in Java, but I don't know how to gauge it. How you gauge the closing ratio?
If you just take the total number of like one estimate, so like let's say for example you sent 100 estimates and 30 of them were accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just do 30 accepted divided by total estimate sent out would be 100, right? So 30 divided by 100, that's 0.30, 30%, right?
Okay.
And so if you did 70 estimates total and 20 of them were closed, you do 20 divided by 70.
Where do you want to be at? I know probably difference between exactly what you're doing and where you're at, but where typically you want to be at around
Yeah,
that percent?
good question. So like when you kind of have different stages of the business, like if you're in hyper growth, like your goal is I want to grow, then I want that like 50 to 70% at least, right?
Right.
If you're in more of conservative, like you want to do profit, you want to make a lot of profits and not grow as fast, that's when like 40%, 40, 50% is okay. But really, if you're trying to grow, like 60, 70 is where you want to be at. And I really feel that by being there the next day, getting the estimate to them faster, you being full-time, being able to do that, you will close 15, 20% more of your jobs. And
Right.
that's what's going to allow for the growth and fill the schedule for those two new guys.
I got you. I know you talk a lot about service autopilot. You still use that. Have you ever used Java? You used that
I
before?
have. I used Jobber like 6 years ago.
I got you. Coast converted, 30 days converted, 72,000. So in Java, they give us, I guess, numbers like this. It says awaited response, changes requested, approved, converted, archived. What could I look at?
Is there one like called accepted or one?
There's approved and converted. So
Perfect. So let's do approved.
uh-huh.
And how many of those, like, let's say for the past month, I don't know what range they are giving you there, but.
Yeah, we can pick 30 days, calendar year, 12 months, this month.
Let's do 12 months, because if you do just the past 30 days, the problem is sometimes people haven't got back to you yet.
All right. Let's see. Approved, converted, approved, awaited response.
Yeah, so if you like, can you how many like total estimates have been sent out? Can you see that number?
So it says draft, awaiting response, change requested, approved, converted, archived. Yeah, so total it says 687.
Okay, and then let's do the one that is approved.
Don't look right. So approved says 5. I don't think that's
okay, so
right.
what's the other one? Approved, and what was the other one?
Converted.
What? Yeah, is that the same thing or different?
Converted. Well, in Java, you go from awaiting, the status goes from awaiting response to approved and then converted. So
Got
when
it.
you
So
convert, that
what's
means
converted?
Converted is 189.
Got it. So let's assume 200, just because there's probably some in there that might have not got all the way to converted.
Mm-hmm.
But like at that ratio right there, you're around a 29% close ratio, 28, 29%.
Okay.
So about a little bit less than 1 in 3 estimates are being accepted. I really feel like you getting in front of the customer faster can get that above 50%.
Yeah, I got you.
So that's the number I would really recommend you track every single month. Total number of estimates sent versus total that were converted, and what is that percentage. And I really think you can get above 50% just by trying to get there in time, right? Because like, if someone calls on a Sunday and you're doing estimates that Sunday and you're like, okay, well, I gotta get you next week. Okay, well, now they're waiting 1 week for you to come. So next Sunday you're there. Then maybe put together the estimate on Monday, get sent out to them Tuesday. They're waiting 9 days for that estimate to get to them, right? And if it's a project they want done right away, like a lot of times, especially in your market where like everything's so hot, it goes to the person who gets the estimate done first, not necessarily the best person and the cheapest price. It's like, who just gets my estimate, I can get accepted, right? So, yeah.
I got you. As far as like gauging clients, when I guess when you guys go through your intake process, do you ask clients like their budget and things to kind of like filter out which leads make sense to even go out to, or do you charge for estimates, or how you guys do it?
Yeah, so we don't charge for estimates on the upfront. Like we say that there's free estimates
Mhm.
on the actual like calculation of our numbers. We do have an fee in there that covers the cost of going out, but they don't get charged that like for just getting the estimate, right? So it's not on back end that we charge for the estimate. But um in terms of the intake part, I would only do that if you are overwhelmed with work, right? Like if you are way behind and you need to be out in the field and you just do not, that's when I would tell my office person, hey, ask them if they've established a budget, ask them if they know what plants they want, what type of materials they want, etc. But the beautiful thing about you being able to get there within a few hours for an estimate is the fact that you're going to beat out all the other competition getting to their property. They're not going to want to go call 5 other contractors. They're just going to roll with you, you know? And so creating a system around, for example, having a binder with the different materials, the different types of plants that you have and showing it to them. So that way you're not like, you don't want a big long sales cycle, right? And so when you're able to get to a property fast, what you also want to do is when you leave that property, they know exactly what they're going to be getting in the estimate. It's not like, oh, I'll meet you at the supplier, I'll meet you at the nursery. Like ideally you have a laminated binder, you show them, hey, this is what I'm going to put in the estimate. Here's what, okay, great, cool. You can go get the estimate done. And so by being full time, you'll get those back to them so much faster and your close ratio will go up.
I got you. And then as far as services, so I was thinking about kind of scaling back services to kind of focus on specialty things that bring in actual money and not wasting time with smaller things, even though like the mowing crew can kind of handle smaller things. But I was thinking about kind of scaling it back to make it more automated. Like I said, us personally, we don't specialize as far as like concrete, deck building, fence building, anything like that, but we still advertise those services. And what I would do, I have 1 or 2 contractors that I work with on a daily basis that can get that done and within a reasonable price so that I can still put a contractor fee on top of it. So I was trying to see if it makes sense to kind of start hiring people that actually has that skill set so I can have that skill set in house, or just keep rocking out with the contractors and kind of figuring it out like that.
Like I'm a big fan of the latter. Like you really focus on the simpler services and then subbing those things out. Mostly due to the fact that like right now you could figure out how to do, a lot of those things, but the problem is it ties you more and more to the daily operations where our goal is like we have plenty of leads coming in. It's a matter of, structuring, creating organization around what we already have. And as we grow, by adding more services and more complicated services, you're only adding the complexity of the business. It's so much harder to create structure and systems around, $50,000 paver patios compared to, $1,500 cleanups and mulch installs, right?
Right.
And so it's not as fun as they're exciting, but it's easier to find laborers. Like I can find a laborer that can install mulch tomorrow. Finding someone who can install a paver patio and a wall in an outdoor kitchen area, pretty difficult,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what comes to my mind is if your goal is to get out of the daily operation where you're not having to manage the project, yes, you can make systems to make the project management go better, but better yet, make the project simpler so it's easier to manage, right? And so I that's kind of the way we always tend to go is the simpler services. If someone else if they want something bigger, we can sub it. That's easy. But I don't want to have to go get the trucks. I don't want to have to go get the equipment. I don't have to get a bigger shop space to facilitate those projects. And then now I'm stuck with finding more expensive laborers, harder to train them up, harder to get them profitable. I like the simple services, they scale, right? Like in DC, you do not have any shortage of the simple services. It's a matter
Right.
of creating the systems and structure to scale it, right? To go from 2 in the field to 10 in the field. That's doable. Now, do I think you can do 10 employees, simple services, mulch, mowing, et cetera? Absolutely. Finding 10 guys right now that can do paver patios, run an excavator, run drainage, do irrigation on all of those things combined, very difficult to find, So
I got you. I got you. In terms of the office staff, so like I said, I got one office staff right now. She actually lives in the Philippines, so she's a virtual assistant, but
cool,
she's been with me for like 8 months maybe. She working with me
cool.
for 8. So her operations include the first step of intake of the client. So when people send us an email or they respond to the website or Angie's list anything, her responsibility is to go in, kind of get as much information as she can or via email, try to gain some pictures, and then set up the schedule. She also runs the QuickBooks and scheduling and Jobber as far as the estimates and stuff like that, and also social media posts. So I was trying to see if it makes sense to get her to do any other of the tasks that I would normally be doing. But I think the issue with that is, of course, number one, she's from the Philippines, so it's kind of a barrier there with the talking. Like with talking, I can understand that we can talk, but as far as her talking to everyday American customers, I don't know. But I'm trying to figure out, all the services that I can kind of put on her plate to make it make sense. I mean, it makes sense anyway because their money's a lot different from ours. So it's like what she's ecstatic with $8 an hour right now, and
Right,
that's more than some doctors make in the Philippines for some crazy reason. So
right.
I'm trying to figure out, I guess, how to maximize that as much as possible as well.
Totally. Yeah, like whatever she can do, I would have her do. But it's just a matter of, like you said, the phone is the biggest part, right? And so I think it's a matter of, okay, like listing everything that you do in a day and then literally starting to ask yourself, okay, can she do this? Can she do that? Can she do this? Like everything, right? Whether it be
Yeah,
payroll, whether it be anything and everything in QuickBooks or in Jobber, she should be doing those things. Um, and then the one part you have to hold on to is the phone, right? And I don't think it's a big issue because like you can even make it where, for example, she can make a note for you to call somebody, and like that's the only way you actually take action. It's like unless I get a note that says I need to call someone, I don't touch anything, right? And even like email, like stuff
I
like that.
I
What
think
was that?
that's pretty much where I'm at now with the
Yeah.
just only having to hop on the phone and like when people call, like some people don't send emails or don't go through the website, they'll just call and just want to talk to somebody right then and there. And I there, but 9 times out of 10, I'll just say, yeah, so the quickest way to get the estimate is, just go to the email, blah, blah, blah. And they'll do it 9 times out of 10. So I think that's where we at now. The only thing I'm doing on the scheduling side is the jobs because I'm here every day and I know when we finish, when we don't finish, and all that. So I schedule the jobs and I'm on the phone. But pretty much everything else, I think she pretty much got it on her plate at this point. So I
What you
shouldn't
what
really.
you could do, Jarrell, is a thought. It depends on what kind of like how your phone system is set up, but technically what you could do is like when someone calls, you could have like press 1 for an estimate and then press 2 for customer service. And then if it's a 1 and she's just doing like intake, like getting
Mhm.
in for a job, it could go to her. But then if
Right,
it's more customer service and like you kind of want to make sure like, it's you, then you come to you then.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's different services that you can just plug up to your phone for that, right?
Exactly.
I got you. I got you. What else did I have? So, due to this Corona stuff, they're giving out all this money. So I got one of those disaster loans.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yep.
yeah,
EIDL or PPPP.
the EIDL. So I
Okay.
got the EIDL. It's I think it's what they give us 30 years to pay it back, and then they don't
Yep.
start charging you until like next year. They just extended it, so they're not gonna take any payments till next year. So I got it just because I talked to a couple different people, and they was like, "Man, just get it
Take it.
because
Oh yeah.
like ain't nobody gonna give you no like you're not getting no pretty much anything else, bro. Being black and a small business, they not trying to give you no money, man. Take that money, man." So I
Yep.
got it, but I ain't touch it yet. So I got it back in September. I ain't touch it yet because I didn't really have to. But
Mhm.
no, it's gonna come a time where I gotta start paying this stuff back. So what I'm trying to do with it is figure out what makes sense to invest it into to actually bring upon that return that makes sense. to even have taken a loan in the first place.
How much is it?
150.
150,000?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, this is the thing is, like, whatever you don't use, you can always pay back in a year or whatever if you haven't used it, right? But this is
Right.
what I would say, because on 150,000, your
Mhm.
monthly payment, if I'm not mistaken, is about $1,200. Am I right?
I think it was a little less. I think it was like 700.
11. Oh,
700.
sweet. So you got the 3.75.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was 375.
let's go. Okay, so dude, this is big. So I really think, like, my idea on the whole EIDL thing is take it and then use that money to basically grow to the point where when you need to start paying it back, it's like inconsequential, right?
Mm-hmm.
$700-800 in a year from now, if you've doubled the business, is inconsequential money,
Yeah.
right? And so like $150,000, man, that will take the business to another level, right? You can afford to go hire someone, pay them a little extra to be able to stick with you as a mowing manager. You can go out and you can hire people knowing that if you need to, you can get another truck. You have the money for marketing. So, what's your thought? Where's your thought process at?
It immediately went to hiring some more skilled people and giving them a little bit extra to keep them around, because it's been my main ongoing issue is having, first of all, knowledgeable skilled people that I don't have to train. Like I believe in a certain level of training to the point
Yep.
to where it's around the culture, around not perfectionism, but basically the quality of service and stuff like that. But what I've been having to do is I've been having to train the guys how to do the work, then about the culture, and then about everything. So it's like, and I talked to a couple of different people about it. They were like, well, the good thing is, you're training them on how you want it done from start to finish. The bad thing is, it takes a long time to even get a person there. So while you're trying to run the business and grow, you ended up playing babysitter, which I've been doing 2013, because like I said, I started off with no experience myself. And then I had to turn around and coach other people and play daddy, stepdaddy, and uncle, and all this other stuff to people. It's been crazy. So yeah, no, immediately it went to, I was like, all right, I got all this money to invest in the company. I need to invest in people to actually push the company. But it's like, I know I need a system or better systems put in place to when I get the people, they not looking at it like, all right, this is a one-man band. This shit ain't gonna last.
Yep.
Even though I'm getting around
Exactly.
something, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to kind of weigh those options, if that makes sense.
So this is what I would do, Jarrell, is like, I would really reduce the amount of service that you offer. And even if you don't sub out the other stuff, because like when I look at your website, for example, it looks like a jack of all trades kind of a website. You do everything, right? The problem
Yeah.
with that is when your customer comes to you, they're going to ask for everything. The problem is you're the only one who knows how to do everything,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so it makes it very, very hard to keep people. I would get really doubled down on what are the services you want to do. And it doesn't necessarily mean they need to be simple. Like, for example, you might want to do paver patios. That's fine. But you get really good at it, and it's easy to train people on the 2 or 3 types of paver patios you do,
Right.
right? And so, like, if I was you, I would cut back on how many services I do to simplify the business. And then I would then deploy the money that you have, which you would not need more than 5 or 10,000 to do this. And that is go get enough business to make up for the loss of revenue by not having those other services. Funny fact though is you will continue to grow because now you can actually scale the services that are simplified. You can go
Right.
get 2 or 3, like when we hire people, we want them profitable within 3 to 5 days, right? They need to be making money, not just like
Right.
generating revenue, but like profitable,
Yeah.
efficient enough to make profit. You can't do that if you're requiring people to be 6 months before they understand stuff. You're never going to be able to not be at a project if you're the only one who knows how to do stuff.
Yeah.
You the very best, you'll be bouncing back and forth. Like, okay, guys, do this while I'm gone. Here's how to do it. I'm gonna go leave and do it. Like, you're gonna run yourself ragged, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be looking at, okay, what are the simple services I know I can train someone up within 1 week to do? And then I'd be going out and saying it's gonna kill you, but you're gonna say no to jobs, right? When whether it be you taking the intake or her taking the intake, your VA, regardless, you have to know, okay, we're gonna say no to some jobs. And trust me, it tears your heart out. Like
Oh
those
yeah,
are those are what you used to always say yes to, right? And you know those are big jobs. You know there's money in those jobs, but what you're going to go do is go market against the services you want now, and you're going to be actually able to scale the business. And that's when you get out. That's when you're able to really get out of the day-to-day operations and the field work, and that's when employees come on board and they say, "Oh, like this guy's got his stuff together. I can go at work, be profitable without him being around."
right.
It's not a one-man show. And so, like, how many trucks do you have right now, Jero?
I have three.
Yeah, and
Three.
like with that many trucks, you could easily get 4 or 5 employees, right? So when I see that, you don't need to go buy more stuff, equipment wise or truck wise, I should say, to facilitate your growth right now. It strictly comes down to people and more leads. It's the only
Right.
things you need. And so the people side is going to become a whole lot easier if you simplify your services. And the leads, you have the money to go get those. If you spent $10,000 to $15,000 in marketing in the next 12 months, you would more than replace all of your projects and be doing in a much better spot.
I got you.
And I always say projects, I mean like big stuff. Like you can always, mulch is great service. It's simple. Anyone can do it from day one. They're profitable. Trimming bushes, like, basic, installs, still like rock, gravel. Those are all still doable, right? It just, the question is always asked, when you're doing an estimate, this is how I kind of, when I first started kind of going this direction is, will I need to be on this project? If the answer is yes, I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
If I have to be on this project, I don't want to be here.
Mm.
And then have you heard of me talk about project management videos at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I would recommend that big time. So if you do an estimate, you're confident your team can do it. Right after you finish with the customer, it's like, okay, all right, so this is what we're going to be doing. And you just point it all out, make a video, send it to the crew the night before. Right. Again, now they're getting the feeling of like, oh, like they've got their stuff together. They know how to like estimate a job, give a video. Now they're responsible, not you bouncing in, like talking to the customer and like playing kind of middleman and jumping out and doing estimates. Like that's what keeps a business small.
Yeah. That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing for the past, 4 years, maybe? Because at the beginning, I was just, just going at it, just me, just walking around with a lawnmower. As a matter of fact, I didn't even have a truck. I was just walking around because I just was trying to figure out a way to do something positive and, stay out of trouble because I didn't want to go back to jail. So I took a little bit of money I had. I think I had like $700 left after I got out. Family members stole money and some more shit. But after I got out, I had like $700 left. Got a little Honda, a weed whacker, and a blower, handheld blower. Just went around the neighborhood, knocking on doors. And, after that, I saved up some money from that. Got my first truck. Then the next year, got my second truck. Then got a snowplow put on that one. Then got another truck, and then just kept going from there. So now I'm trying to get to a point to where it's really a business and not just a one-man wrecking crew just figuring shit out. You know what I'm saying?
And honestly, I would look at this EIDL as like, this is you're going to save 2 to 3 years by having this money, right? Like, yes, we could play conservative, like, oh, we're not going to spend it. Like, I don't know. No, like if you had 50,000, I would say that you could do what I'm talking about. You don't need 150, but like, I guarantee you're going to get the 50. You're like, oh, wow, like this is really taking off. I can go get a couple more trucks. I can go get a little bit of space, right? Like that's what's going to happen. But you have to just kind of commit to the fact that you can't scale certain parts of the business and you're going to have to cut out services, right? Yeah. If that's the goal, right? If your goal is to be in the field restaurant, like you just raise prices, right? You can start charging $150 an hour for you to be like the master mason with 2 employees with you, right? But if you're wanting to be your full-time estimator, not having to be out working, slaving all day, like that's when simplify services, use the marketing dollars to, literally you could double almost the size of your business without having to buy more trucks.
Right.
You have 2 employees, 3 trucks. That means you could go do 3 projects at the same time, 2 guys in each truck.
Yeah.
You have a little estimate car and you got 6 employees.
Here's the other part. So I got the 2 employees I got now. One is like 24 and one is like 28, but they both do not have licenses for some fucking reason. Well, I know one of is like, he came in from Guatemala, so I don't know what's his situation in getting a license. I don't know if they're gonna let him get it, but the other one don't got a license. So I'm trying to not convince, but empower these guys to kind of step up get into a different space, because it's like, we already here, but I'm trying to go here. I'm trying to grow. So I'm trying to get them to a point to where, so they see it as like a growth type of thing, and kind of hire within before I go get new people. But
Do
I
they
feel
have
like
the ability? Do they have the ability to get the driver's license?
one of them for sure. But the other one, like I say, he's from Guatemala, so I don't know if he actually got a green card or
Right.
what's that situation. But I think
What do you
Mhm.
pay them per hour? What do you like advertise for per hour for hiring?
Pretty much I was going by the skills. So depending on what you could do already, and depending on if you're showing up on time and all this other stuff, I started from there. But the one of them is at 16 and one of them is at 20 an hour.
Got it. Because what you could do is you could say, hey, look, like if I'm going out in the field right now, $18 an hour if you can work, $22 an hour if you can drive and work, right? And that would empower the one guy
Mm-hmm.
to go get his license if he can do it. And then if you go out and try to hire people right now, you're going to be competitive in the marketplace, because that's what it's going to take, like at least to get anyone to work right now.
Yeah.
And again, like, I've said it before, but like $2 per hour, if you were $2 more per hour to attract good people right now, that's all of 160, $340 per month extra to get that person.
That's nothing.
Right now, it's nothing. Like your growth, if you had to pay 2 people, that's $600 a month. If we do that for 12 months, we're looking at $8,000. Like we have $150,000 right now to grow the business on. Right. So like if you spent half of that and you're only paying, let's say $400 a month in a couple of years, like we want to use that money to grow the business to the point where that money is nothing. Right. It's like if you can grow the business, let's say by $30,000 a month in the next 12 months, right? So $30,000 a month extra more per revenue, and you're only 20% profitable on that. What that's going to mean is you're going to profit $6,000 on that $30,000 in revenue. So literally, we're talking about a payment of $400 on a loan against $6,000 in profits.
Right. No brainer.
Totally. And so I would really, really encourage you, cut out the services that you can't do without you. I would raise your hourly rates that you can pay people to attract good people that can drive, because they got to be able to drive. And you're gonna have to pay more for them, right? But now by doing that, you're gonna be able to go get estimates done faster out to the customer and be able to just raise your hourly rate by $5 an hour. You're charging 60, charge 65 now, right? Because you'll still close 50 to 60% instead of 30 like you have been.
Yeah.
So and then now all of that we just talked about doesn't take any more money besides the incremental amount for paying people more. What you're going to go spend money on is marketing, but you're going to market those services that can get done without you.
I got you.
And you're going to get, people are going to want to work for you because now you're offering $22 an hour for what everyone else is, giving 16, 17 an hour for, but you can afford it because you're not in the field anymore. You're out selling jobs.
Right. Nah, that makes total sense. Definitely makes sense. Yeah, man. We gotta get some employees, man.
That is the key there. That's easier said than done right now. I read your story, by the way, in the Washington Post. That was very inspiring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, man. I've been trying to figure this shit out, man. As far as this whole life thing and this business thing, because it's like I always knew I wanted to do something in business. It's the only thing that kind of made sense to me, other than creative type of stuff. But business for sure, and that's what I've been doing this whole time. Rather it's been legal or illegal, it's been business at the end of the day. So I've been staying away from the illegal side, trying to get more so with the legal side. So with the company through SML, since I started SML, I also started something called That's a Plug. That's a Plug. It started off as like a motivational website. I was doing interviews with entrepreneurs and kind of trying to shift the focus and the culture of our people type and like just entrepreneurs in general, because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur nowadays, but necessarily doesn't know what goes into it. But basically from that, I kind of got into doing community events where I have like we did the turkey drive. We did one event called Guns Down, Gloves Up, where we stopped people from we attempted to provide alternate solutions to gun violence, because gun violence is kind of crazy all over the world, but especially DC. DC's wild. But you know, I just been kind of piecing stuff together as I go along and trying to figure things out, man. So
Is
yeah.
it something you could tap into for getting new hires, you think? Like kind of creating a program for them or tapping? I know it's kind of a risky kind of population sometimes, but like I know you kind of have firsthand experience with that.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think it's some credits, if not credits, or it's something to where as though if you hire like ex-felons, they'll
Yep.
give you some type of tax breaks or something like that. The thing is with that population is more so one of those things where it may be more headache than the benefit of getting like free labor, because of the fact that you really got to retrain the mind of a person after if they've been locked up way too long, bro. You got to really change their whole mindset before you even get them to a place of working. Like I had to do that shit by myself. I had to do that shit for myself before I can even get to a place to be an entrepreneur. So just imagine a guy that doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. He just looking for a check, and you got to refocus his mind on how to be a fucking regular citizen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the thing is too though, like right now, even if you didn't make a lot of profit in the next little while and you paid significantly more in terms of per hour, like I'm talking 23, 24 an hour, even if you had to get good quality people, even if you did that, I would support it for this one reason. If you get 4 or 5 people that are like that, you create a culture that is pushing everyone in that direction. Now, when you go hire someone for 18, they'll get sucked into the vortex of that culture,
Yeah,
right? And right now, that's what you're lacking. That's why you're having the turnover. It's because people come in, 1 or 2 other guys. They always go to the lowest denominator of culture, lowest standards. Oh, this is just like a one-man show. Like, who cares? I'm not really making a difference. They don't feel any sort of part of anything. And that's like, I would be totally game for you overpaying people to get good people in, create that culture, get some people that want to stay with you for a long time.
right.
And like, I can't overemphasize the fact that if you had 50 instead of 150, I would say you could double the business.
Yeah,
No problem.
I got you. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just take that. I'm gonna do it like that. I'm gonna start with that 50 and then try to double from that 50, and then if I need the rest, use it as I need to, type thing.
Yep. Well, because like next spring, for example, we still have access to the money, or we can pay it back, right? So if you, like you said, use 50 this year, go get some good employees, market the services that you really want to offer. And I don't even think, honestly, you're going to need the 50 because like it'll be profitable, right? But get yourself out of the field doing what you want to do, which is the actual business side of things. And by
Yeah,
doing that, you're gonna get so much work, you're gonna have to hire people, right?
right.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. As soon as you get outside of the field, you start selling more, and you need the workers, right? And everyone's just afraid, like, oh, I don't have enough work. Well, if you didn't have to be out in the field all day, you would get the work,
Yeah,
right? And so, but if we spent the 50 and you grow a bunch this year, then next spring we assess, like, hey, do we need to keep using this, or do we just give it all back and we're only left with like $200-300 a month in payments?
right. No, that makes sense.
So
Definitely. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I know we're running out of time though.
no, you're good. You're good.
Uh, disaster relief. Wondering if it makes sense. I think we pretty much went over all the questions I had. Full-time employees, main source. In terms of marketing, what do you think about? Do you guys use Angie's List at all?
We don't. Especially with your website, like I would be doing everything in my power to get people there. It's a good website. It shows your credibility. When they go to Angie's List, the problem is Angie's List, they're the gatekeeper, right? It's like renting a house versus owning a house, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to own my house so that way when I put my mortgage, I'm putting money in my own pocket, right?
Uh-huh.
Whereas if I'm renting, it's kind of like I got to pay the landlord in order to live there, right? And so I look at Angie's List, Home Advisor, all of them as a landlord. Like, you got to pay them to get the lead. You got to pay them to get the lead. Well, if I have a good ranking website and I'm driving traffic to that website, I don't have to pay anybody. I'm ranking well on Google. I have leads coming, and it's going to take time to get there. But the same way it takes a lot of time to save up for a mortgage and get your down payment. But once you got that, you're locked in, right? And so I would much rather be paying on my own real estate than paying down someone else. And that's what Home Advisor does. They take $20 from you, and then they go take that $20 and spend 10 of it on getting the lead off of Google Ads. Right? If you search in your local area, there's a reason why Home Advisor, Angie's List are the highest ranking ones. They're the ones spending the most on ads. And they're literally taking the money from you, having that, and spending that money on what leads you could do yourself. Right. So if I was you, I'd go out, Google ads, Nextdoor ads, Facebook ads, do every door direct mail, right? Do door hangers, do flyers, whatever it is, regardless, it's driving traffic to your website, driving traffic there, and you're getting the Google rankings. Because every single time you pay them and they run ads and bring you customers, the credibility from Google goes to them. That's why they rank so high.
So does it make sense to get somebody to do the SEO, or maybe add that onto the VA's type of workload as far as SEO type stuff? Or how do you go about marketing on Google? I know I do it directly through the people that made the website, so they doing some of the stuff, but I'm guessing there's some more that I can do.
They do a pretty good job. There's a few little things in the site, but honestly, the biggest thing is just gonna be traffic, right? I don't see such massive gaping holes in the site that it's gonna dramatically bring your SEO down. I'm looking more at the fact that you're paying other companies to get traffic to their sites and call you. I want you paying money to get leads and customers to your site. Because now you start to rank. When someone types in Washington, D.C. lawn care, your site pops up, not Home Advisor and Angie's List. Right. And now that takes some time. The reason people like Home Advisor and like Angie's List is because I give them $20 and I get a lead tomorrow. Whereas with your website, you might spend some time spending some money in ads and not getting anything. But once it's ranking, you don't pay anything. So it's a longer term game. But with this money, you give $10,000, $15,000, you can be ranking very high on Google, even in DC. And so with that, it's not like you have to spend all that money on Google, just getting traffic to the site. So that's going to be Facebook, it's going to be Nextdoor, it's going to be Google ads, and then also Google local services, right? Those are all really the places I'd be putting the money, and then also dabbling in flyers, door hangers, stuff like that too. And again, that comes with time that is allotted from the fact that you're not out working on a job site anymore, right?
Yeah, I got you. No, that makes sense. I got some work to do, man. I got to make some hires and have a talk with the initial team, man. Figure this shit out.
Yep. And I think even if you kind of came to the initial team and said, hey, we're going to be paying more, I'm expecting more of you though now. I'm not going to be babysitting you. I expect you to talk to customers. I expect you to do a good job, do a walkthrough. Here's why I'm going to be able to pay you more. It's because of these things. And they're going to see you get really serious when you start hiring more people, running ads, getting more jobs, cutting services that they know you like, but that they can't do themselves. Oh, wow, he's serious about this whole scaling thing. He's not just doing this, right? That'll change the culture.
I got you. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense, though. So the last thing before I go, I know you got a lot of things going on. You got what? I don't know, 2-3 businesses right now that you doing simultaneously?
Too many.
So I'm trying to figure out, I guess this is everybody, multipreneurs or people that's doing multiple things. We got to figure out not so much about, I don't really believe in the balance because I don't think that shit really exists. But how do you not juggle those things, but manage all of those things at the same time without losing your shit and going crazy over time? How do you do that?
It's just for example, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to have multiple things?
Basically with me, it's I think it's not so much that I get bored with things, but I like to, that's the way my mind thinks. It's if I'm only doing one thing, Yeah, it probably is. I will get bored with only doing one thing. Like my spirit is just like ambiguous. Like I always want to be better than I was yesterday type of person. So that's what I need.
Then it's only society that's telling me that you got to be balanced and you got to do one thing at a time, right? So do what's right for you. Because if you did one thing if you were like, I'm going to be so disciplined, I'm going to do one thing at a time, you drive yourself crazy, right? So do what's right for you. You know, don't judge yourself like just because someone else says to do one thing. Like, do what's right for you. You know, that's when you're going to do well. And I think it's a matter of focusing on when you are focused, like when you're doing landscaping, lawn care, that's your business, you're focused, right? I'm going to cut services, I'm going to advertise, I'm going to get employees, focused. Then I might switch in the evening, and okay, I'm doing music or I'm doing video, like that's fine, right? And for some of us, like, you have to, otherwise you would go crazy, right? So that, don't judge yourself on that, like, by no means. I just think as long as you don't judge yourself, then you'll do what's right for you.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Most definitely.
My pleasure, brother. Let me know how things go, but definitely next spring, touch base with me, because I think it'll be a good decision. Like, hey, we just give some of the money back, but I really think if you use 50 correctly with marketing and hiring, you're gonna be a really, really good spot.
Got you. Will do. I'll keep you posted. What's the best way to reach out? The same way I did? I think it was I clicked on it.
What I'll do is I'll email you the recording of this video, and then you can just, that email is a good one to respond back to.
That's a bet. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate your time.
I know my guys are gonna ask, can they use some of this video for the YouTube channel? Is that okay?
Yeah, y'all can use it.
Got it. All right, brother. Have a great evening. We'll stay in touch.
All right, man. Take it light.
See you. Bye-bye.
All right.